Hi guys, welcome back. I'm so glad to be back. All the products and tools for this look will be listed down below. If they're not listed down below, it's because I was unable to find them, so my apologies. So I'd filmed this video in the evening, so just to give my skin a quick cleanse, I just went in with the Garnier Micellar Water. Apologies for how that looks in the camera. The light was just not the best. But yeah, this is an alternative just in case you didn't want to use a makeup wipe. Then I'm going to take my Maybelline Instant Pore Eraser. I have oily skin, so I just place this in the areas of my face which is the most oily, which is normally the bridge of my nose, the sides of my nose and my forehead. Now I can't lie, I never used to use a moisturizing primer, but ever since I started using this Fenty one, I actually really like it. So I just put it in the areas where I get the most dry, which is my cheeks. Then I'm going to use this Prime Water by Smashbox just to seal everything in. Then I'm just taking a spoolie and I'm brushing my brows up in the direction that they naturally grow. Taking the Radiant Creamy Concealer by NARS in the shade Amande, and I'm going underneath my brows just to carve them out. I actually learnt this technique from P. Louise. I never understood why they did this, and I did judge it before I tried it, but ever since I've started doing it, I can't stop. So I'm just going to be using a flat brush by Boots, I think this is. I couldn't find the exact ones. I've linked an alternative below in the description, but I'm just using that flat brush to blend out the concealer. Usually I put the concealer on the back of my hand and then use the brush to put it on, but today I just wanted to try something new and actually use the applicator from the concealer, and it worked pretty well. So I'm just gradually taking my time and just shaping my brows before I actually fill them in. This is a really good tip to do. It gives you that guideline to follow before you actually fill in your brows. Then I'm taking the same concealer and a dense fluffy brush from Spectrum. This is their CO6 brush, and I'm just using this to blend in the concealer so that we have a nice even base. All the Spectrum eyeshadow brushes that I used in this video are a part of a set which is linked down below in the description. So now I'm picking up a blush by Juvia's Place in the shade Bella, and I'm going to be using a fluffy brush by Spectrum again. This is their A08 brush. I'm just going to be using this shade and placing it directly in the crease. That's where you just want to focus this colour, don't put it anywhere else. Just focus in your crease and take your time, just doing back and forth motions. Also notice where my hand is placed on the brush. The further you are, the lighter the application. The closer you are to the tip of the brush, the harsher the application. So I want this to be smooth and light, which is why my hand is so far back on the brush. And you can see that I'm not holding the brush too tight. Then I'm going to be taking a fluffy brush by Morphe. This is their M441 brush. I'm literally just going to be using this brush to go on the edges of the blush I've just applied onto my eyelid. And blending the colour out. This is how you gradually get that smooth blend. So then using the same brush that I used to apply the Bella blush, I'm going to be applying some more into my crease just to intensify the colour. And you're going to see me alternating between this brush and the M441 brush to blend out the colour. Notice that the M441 brush, I didn't apply any extra product. I'm literally just using it as a clean blending brush to make sure whenever I add new product, it's being blended out properly. Then what I'm going to be taking is another fluffy brush by Morphe. This is their M573 brush, and I'm going to be taking the colour Gigi from the Clientele palette. So we're going to use our finger to softly lift up the skin above our eyebrows so that we can see the shape of our eye socket. We're going to use this as a guide to place Gigi into our crease. And once we're happy with the colour payoff of Gigi in the crease, we're going to be using our same M441 fluffy brush we used previously to blend out the edges of Bella blush. I'm going to be using that same brush to blend out the edges of Gigi in the crease so that we have a smooth transition between Gigi and Bella blush. The whole purpose of adding Gigi to our eyeshadow look is so that it can provide some depth. It's slightly darker then Bella Blush. So it's going to create that smoky kind of transition between the two. This is what eyeshadow is about. It's about going back and forth until you're happy with your result. Don't rush it, just take your time and enjoy the process. Now I'm going to be using a slightly denser flat and square brush by Morphe. This is the M433 brush, and I'm going to be using this to apply just black from the Clientele palette. I'm going to be placing this colour on my lash line and in the outer corner of my eye. This is a really good brush to use to do this because it's flat and quite square, so it gives you the control that you need to place the colour exactly where you want it. I know black can be scary sometimes, but just take your time. Again, I'm holding the brush towards the end so I have a soft touch. You don't want to apply too much black because then you'll have to spend quite a lot of time trying to blend it out. So I've just zoomed in a little bit so you guys can have a closer look at exactly where I'm placing the black. I'm placing the black directly in the outer corner of my eye. A good way to know that you're in the outer corner of your eye as well as in your crease is if you use the tip of the brush and gently push into your eye socket. That way you'll know you're exactly where you need to be. So just try and mimic exactly where I am. Now I'm going to go in with the same brush that I used to apply GG, no extra product, just whatever's left on the brush, and use this to blend out the edges of the black. So then I'm going to go back in with the same brush I used for just black and using slightly more product to intensify my outer V. My apologies guys, this is a really old Morphe's brush and it doesn't actually have a name, so I was unable to find it on Morphe's website to link it down below in the description, but I do actually recommend using your finger for this step. So I'm using the gold shade Hotspot and applying this all over my lid. Remember guys, I've linked down below all the products and tools that I've used as part of this video. If it's not linked down below, it's because I was unable to find the original or even unable to find an alternative that I've used before and would recommend. But if you can't find a gold that's close to this or the exact to this, just use what you have and I'm sure it will come out perfectly fine. Now I'm going to be using NYX or NYX. I can't remember if it's NYX or NYX, but you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm going to be using the Epic ink liner and just using this to tight line my lash line and attach that to the black that I put in my outer corner. Then I'm going to go back in with the same black and the same brush I used to apply the black and mix the two together. So we don't want there to look like there's a difference between the ink liner and the shadow. We want there to be a nice gradient between the two and make them look like they are one. So that's all I'm doing here, and then I'm just applying some more gold to be extra. Then I'm going to be taking a small Morphe brush, and this is the M321 brush, and I'm just using this to go on the outer bits of our gold to make sure it's blended in seamlessly. All the Morphe brushes I've used are a part of a set that I've linked down below in the description. Then I'm going to take some duo glue. This is the green one, applying that onto my lid, fanning it out to dry it, and then we're going to pick up some of our glitter and apply that onto our lid. This is a glitter from Festival Face and this is in the shade Copper Tan. They do some really nice glitters. So I'm going to be taking the same creamy concealer by NARS I used earlier and applying this beneath my eye, but also applying it at the edge of my eye, using the edge of my eye as a guide to create that crisp winged out effect. Then I'm going to be using the flat brush again just to spread out the product and place it exactly where I want it. And then using the dense spectrum brush that we used earlier to pat out our concealer on our lid, we're going to be using that same brush to do the same thing. Again, my apologies guys, I was unable to find this brush online. It's a Real Techniques brush, but I've linked an alternative down below. I'm just picking up the shade GG and I'm brushing the colour along my bottom lash line. Then I'm taking some eyeliner, guys. I'm going to link the Pixie one down below because I don't actually like this one anymore. The Pixie one's one of my favorites, and it's a lot creamier and a lot darker than this one. Then I'm going to take the same smudger brush and Just Black from the Clientele palette and rub that beneath my waterline to smoke it out. I'm then going to take my Great Lash Mascara by Maybelline and apply that to my bottom lashes. So now I'm going to be applying my Cocoa Honey Cosmetic lashes in the style Chocolate. This is a Black owned business and I'm so grateful to be an ambassador for this company. So if you do want to purchase these lashes or any other lashes that they have on their website, please use my discount code. I've linked it down below in the description. So with some nice full eyelashes on, this is the finished product of the eyeshadow look. So I'm going to go off camera now and go and do the other eye and come right back. Cool, let's move on to skin. So over the lockdown period, I broke out pretty badly on one side of my face, and I had bought this corrector / concealer as a concealer, and it turned out that it wasn't the shade that I thought it was. Where there's a will, there's a way. You can always use makeup for other things, even if it wasn't what you intentionally bought it for. So I use it to cover up any dark areas on my face before applying any foundation. So for this look, I use the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Hydrating Longwear Foundation, and I am in the shade 445. Now, you really don't need a lot of this foundation. A little goes a long way, and I'm not really a full coverage kind of girl. So I did apply a bit more than I usually would. So you're going to see me use a sponge later on in the video to rectify that. To blend out my foundation, I'm using a Real Techniques Duo Fiber brush. I've really enjoyed using duo fiber brushes for foundation recently. They're super soft, super affordable, and they do the job. Unfortunately, I was unable to find this specific brush, but I have linked another duo fiber brush down below in the description by a brand named Sigma, who I've heard really good things about. So hopefully that will be a good alternative for you guys. As I mentioned earlier, I felt like I put on a little bit more foundation than I usually would, so I'm just using a damp Real Techniques sponge to blend out any excess foundation until I feel comfortable with the coverage. So now I'm going back in again with the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in the shade Amande, and I'm just using the applicator to apply the concealer exactly where I want it to sit. Using one of my favorite brushes to blend out concealer, this is the Real Techniques 421 brush. This actually came in a set when I bought it, and I don't think you can buy it separately, so I've linked the set that I bought down below in the description. Notice that I'm putting some of the product that's on one under eye onto the other under eye. Sometimes if I feel like I've put more concealer than maybe I want to have there, I'll just distribute it to other areas of my face, or you can just grab a towel or a tissue and just press your brush in that to get rid of some of the excess product. Using the duo fiber brush I used earlier for my foundation, I'm just using this with no extra product to blend out the perimeter of my concealer. Using the setting powder by Benai in the shade Camel, I'm using this fluffy brush by Eco Tools to set my under eyes. This brush came in a set, so I have linked the set down below in the description. My apologies guys, I have no clue where I got the Benai setting powder from, so I've linked another go-to powder that I use, which is the Too Faced Born This Way setting powder. I'm now going to do the same steps on my other under eye. My nose already kind of has a button at the front and it has quite a light bit in the center, so that's exactly where I'm going to place the concealer. Try and find the guidelines that your face already provides for you. Don't try and change it too much. I'm then going to use the same brush that I used to buff out the concealer on my lids and use the excess concealer to do a reverse contour underneath my cheekbones. Again, to soften everything and make sure it's blended out, I'm using the same duo fiber brush with no extra product to blend out my nose highlight and my reverse contour. Then taking the same Eco Tools brush and the Ben Eye powder in the shade Camel to set my concealer. Using my favourite bronzer by Fenty Beauty in the shade Mocha Mummy, and applying it with the same brush I used to apply blush to our crease and following the natural shadows of my nose. Using an angled contour brush, I actually got this as part of my college kit, so unfortunately I'm unable to link it down below, but I have linked an alternative Real Technique brush which is very similar to this shape. Then I'm going back into the Clientele palette using the shade Date Night to highlight the apples of my cheeks, and I'm using the same angled contour brush to apply it. Using the same small Morphe eyeshadow brush that we used to blend out the edges of the gold eyeshadow, we're going to be picking up Date Night again and placing that in the inner corner of our eyes. Back to the brows, so I'm just picking up my spoolie to brush my brows just to tidy them up. Then I'm going to be using my Rimmel London Professional Eyebrow Pencil in the shade Black Brown and lightly filling in the areas of my brows that are quite sparse and just taking my time to do this. If you guys want a detailed brow tutorial, then please let me know in the comments. I'll be more than happy to make one. Going back in with our small Morphe brush and some more Date Night eyeshadow, I'm going to be highlighting my brow bones. Applying one of my favourite Fenty lip products, this is Gloss Bomb in the shade Fussy. To set the face, I used the Photo Finish Primer Water by Smashbox, and here's the finished look. Thank you all so much for taking the time out to watch this video. It means a lot. I hope I can be consistent on this platform. Please like, comment and subscribe, and please take care of yourselves.